Welcome, everybody. We have another episode Against the Grain podcast. So excited to bring you guys another episode. We've been banging these episodes out. I encourage you guys to drop a like on the comment. It's free. Drop a like. It helps us. Drop a comment, and then go ahead and subscribe. Share the video on your social medias. Like I said, we've been pumping out a lot of videos and stuff, so we just thank you guys all for your support. With that being said, I got my special guest today. I got Chill Aguilar.
What up, what up?
What's up, Chill? How you doing, bro?
What up, homie? How are you doing?
Bro, okay, so one of the questions I have for you, well... People were asking me today because they're like, "Who's on your podcast?" I was like, "It's my boy Chill." They're like, "Was that a first name? Is that what is that a nickname? Is that like your actual name, or what's your actual name?"
If I tell you, I have to kill you. But no, just
so
kidding.
No one knows.
No, it's just a nickname. Since I was back in the days, like all the rappers had a nickname, right? Like Dog or some dog. So I was about 14 in the studio with Cypress Hill and a few of those guys. You know, like learning, like kind of like trying to be like them and learn the music game.
Yeah.
And they go, "You need a dog."
Chili Dog.
Yeah, so him and this guy, Tim Miner, who's like an old school worship leader guy, was there at a recording session, and he was like, "Oh, we'll call you Chill Dog." But then people were like, "Oh, Chili Dog, you like Chili Dog?" You know, it just turned into. So a few years later, I'm like, "Man, I gotta take out the dog, just be a chill," you know?
Chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I heard your dad on an old video. He's like, "Chili Dog." You got up there popping and dude, you guys were at the Dream Center on that Thanksgiving one.
Yeah, he loved always saying that Chili Dog. He was like, "Cool, Dad, that's great," you know.
That's cool, man. Well, thanks for coming, bro. I saw you for the first time like years ago, bro. And that brings me to my first question, man. I'm gonna get straight into it, bro.
Let's get into it.
I gotta bring it up, man.
Bring it up.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Bro, you said on a previous podcast, you have no love for T-Bone. Bro,
I don't.
No love for T-Bone.
T-Bone, if you're watching this, bro, I got no love for you.
Oh my gosh.
Bro, Gospel Gangsters were my, friends growing up. And
bro, T-Bone had real videos and he showed you guys love. Set Free Anthem.
Did he give us love? I'm sorry, T-Bone, I love you. I don't know. I didn't watch I didn't see it on there.
You never watched real video? It's like G-Rock.
No, I know real
videos,
video.
remember?
Yeah, I know G-Rock because the guy, our label at that time that we were connected with owned the G-Rock show. So he's like pretty much, he had us on there, and then real videos. Yeah, I've heard of it because it was like old school, Carmen and all the cheesy videos. But you got to imagine by that time, we were already listening to like Cypress. My dad was, he was a wild preacher. So by that time, we were listening to, Bone Thugs and Harmony, Cypress Hill. So we were like, dude, T-Bone, you're just pretty much taking what the world does and, trying to sound like them. You know what I mean? So it wasn't really like, and I think we did a concert in, this guy, Randall Cunningham, is like a pro football player. He signed us years later to a deal. And I think what happened, why we didn't like T-Bone, is because we did a concert and he was a headliner, right? And we opened for him and we killed it because we got guys flipping, spinning on their heads, jumping off walls. The crowd was hyped. We were younger too. I think we're like 10 years younger than him. And he was more like my older brother's age. So it was just kind of like he got mad or something. And we were like, he didn't talk to us backstage.
Really?
I think we were at that age like, fool, you're a punk, bro. You're a gangster, So no, that was what we do in our youth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're just dumb and young and got pride. So I mean, I don't see T-Bone in years. So, and then I think we seen him somewhere with John Gibson, this other worship friend of mine, and I think he was like telling us, "I want to sign you guys" or something. It never happened, so we're probably mad at him because he, didn't hook us up, But nah, much love, T-Bone. But he wasn't my favorite.
Okay, we got the real story now. We got the truth now.
I don't hate him
because on that podcast that was so funny, bro. You're like, if you don't like it, T-Bone, you come see me about it. I was like, dang.
I mean, come see me if he still wants to.
He wants to fade.
If they want that, he wants them hands. You know what I mean?
Oh man, bro, that was funny. No, but
I'm half hood, half holy, so
you're he ain't ready. No, but that's the first time my brother and I actually really saw you guys was watching real videos. T-Bone had his show on Channel 40 TBN.
Yeah, that's old school.
Yeah, and you guys, and like you said, it's all the Christian videos, everything's good, and all of a sudden, dun dun, and then Ford Expedition rolls up, and dun dun 2000. We're like, what? And then, dude, looking choloed out, bald heads, skater guy, and it set free, boom, it starts going. We're just like, whoa, this is like our people. We're from here. This looks like pretty close to what we see when we're around and stuff, and we just connected to it, man. So it was so cool to see that, man. It was so cool, something different,
Yeah, I think that's the thing. We didn't do anything outrageously different or crazy, but compared to Christians, they're just 20 years behind. So my dad and Set Free and all the stuff we did, he just always did stuff that was kind of cutting edge. You know what I mean? It was wild for its day.
Yeah.
Now when we were doing it 30 years ago, we were called like a cult and the devil because we did rap, and now every Victory Outreach, Calvary, everybody
Yeah.
who talked crap about us all are doing it now at their churches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was always weird, but that's just part of our legacy. We definitely could say we started. My dad was definitely the first guy to have a lot of hip hop and break dancing and rock and roll and punk rock in the church. Sublime. The guys from Sublime all went through Set Free.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
Bradley, all them.
Bud Gaw, all of them. Yeah.
Dang, that's crazy.
Their first demo in '92 was recorded we had a full recording studio. My dad was always ahead of time. He had a full recording studio there and recorded bands and everybody. So that's how they put out the tapes and back then there were tapes.
Yeah. That's crazy, bro. I didn't know that. That's wild. You guys have always been connected. Well, throw us way back, man. You have a crazy story. I want to get into your story specifically because, like we were talking off camera, like Set Free could have its own podcast. Like, you know what I mean? You have a crazy story, but talk to us about you. Talk about growing up. Where were you born? All that kind of family deal, kind of early on before really the church started kind of kicking off.
Well, I was born on a pew, like I said earlier. So I was raised in the church. You know what I mean? By that time, my dad had just gotten out of prison. He was just a Baptist preacher and doing his thing. And he found, Jesus in jail, prison, and had a radical transformation. But he became a Baptist. That's what he first got connected with. And whoever you first meet, you're going to kind of go that way. So he put on a suit and tie, covered up the tattoos, didn't ride his Harley no more because he thought that's what they, trained him that he's supposed to do is he has to be conservative, get all dressed up and come, he didn't read that scripture to come as you are. He read that, they were told like, hey, just wear a suit and tie and you got to come this way, which, he was just following order, which is good for him.
Yeah.
He needed structure. He was a maniac back then as a youngster. So this was good structure. So anyways, I was raised around my dad from I can remember. There's people living in my homes, drug addicts, heroin addicts, a guy in the backyard, a homeless guy with a wrench trying to pull his teeth out. You know what I mean? So for us, we were just born into the chaos and the madness. So that's all I've known. Like, you know what I mean? We the first few years, my dad was very conservative. We couldn't listen to Michael Jackson, right? And one time he was in the mall and he started singing Beat It. When he heard it was like playing over there, and we're like, Dad, you're a sinner. You know what I mean? Because he was secretly going to concerts with my mom and a few people from the church. I'm like, dude, yeah. So my dad was always a wild man. So he kind of like, we had to listen to like Stephen Wiley. He was like a Bible rap, like some wild. He was like the first Christian rapper. But I mean, for us, that was wild. Carmen, and so that was all we had, the music. So we didn't know about hip hop or anything. And my older brother, who my dad was, he's my stepbrother. They reconnected after 16 years of not seeing each other. And pretty much he came into our house and brought, my dad brought him in to like live with us, and he brought Beastie Boys and NWA and Terrence D'Arby and Prince and all this stuff that we're like, wow, that's what good music sounds like? Because our music sucks. You know what I mean? Hosanna and all those are great songs. But man, we were like putting people to sleep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're like, this can't be real. This is like, and it had a good beat, good melodies. It was just like, to us Christians, like I said, are just so far behind, bro.
Yeah.
They still are.
Yeah.
Still are. So I was raised in like getting into music, and my dad the church was booming and thousands of people. And so I was just raised living in a home full of, we had about 12, 15 homes on one block and just 300 people and discipleship. And I was just babysit by, drug addicts and people getting off drugs. And, till this day, I meet people and they go, I gave you a bath. I'm like, a bath? How old was I? They're like, you're 14. I'm like, what? I'm 14? No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, it's funny because it's like, these guys are like, they're telling me their stories. Like, dude, I raised you. I watched you when your dad was gone or went to Israel. I'm like, what, dude? This is weird, but to us, the dysfunctional was normalcy. And my dad had a straight, hippie compound type, Jesus Christ and beans and rice, you know what I mean? Yeah. And he would get people off the streets, get them off drugs, but he'd get them to Jesus, you know what I mean? And till this day, there's just thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who have been touched through Set Free Ministries. But, those people, it's awesome. But remember, we were as kids.
Yeah.
So we were 100% part of the circus. And after a lot of therapy and treatment, I've learned that I was part of a circus, you know what I mean? And so, so my dad, as soon as we were old enough to sing and dance and rap and, not have to feed ourselves, he put us on the stage. And he'd be like, what talents do you guys have? What do you got? I'm like, I want to roll with these. So I'll dance, start popping, do whatever. And so he put us on stage, me and my other brother. And I have a little sister, she couldn't sing or dance, so he didn't put her on stage, you know what I mean? So she had it rough, you know what I mean? But if you can have a talent, my dad would utilize it. That was his thing. It's like, he was great at utilizing your talent to win people to the Lord. He would use the analogy of you got to use, to catch, the bait, you know what I mean? You got a bait to catch, the fish, you know what I mean? So his bait was a little different back then. It was rock and roll and hip hop and So yeah, man, I was just raised in a lot of craziness. I mean, to me, it was normalcy though, because I was sleeping next to a dude who's, just fresh off of heroin, or playing basketball with, a guy who just got off of crack. I mean, it was just,
it's crazy.
I think back now, it's nutty, but my dad really trusted in the Lord with all his heart.
Yeah.
And he just figured, hey, my kids, they're going to either sink or swim, and they're going to learn how to either get gangster or, so I tell my dad now, being raised around that atmosphere was great. But man, you got to think of what we respected and what we thought was cool. Leaders of the Mexican mafia, leaders of the, white supremacy, all the Black guerrilla family, Southsiders, Eastsiders. I mean, there was no color lines there. My dad had everybody under one roof. And you start what you were trained to not you think is bad, you start thinking it's good, because they're teaching us things while we're learning about the Bible and Jesus and having revival. I mean, my dad had, it was a massive revival. They had the hippie revival, but Set Free really was, you can ask your dad or anybody, it was really man, I mean, my dad went from, 20 people in 8 or 9 years to 7,000, 8,000 people. And these are people like businessmen, bikers, gang members. You just never seen that. I don't care.
Yeah.
Somebody, if you're watching, show me a church in the early 80s that has that many different backgrounds in one place. Usually it's a Latino church, just a Black church, a white church, and nobody fellowships together. It's like that till this day, as you know.
For sure.
And so that was very, amazing to me.
Yeah.
So I saw these miracles, people being freed from, their addiction, but, I still had to, I was just doing it because that's what we were supposed to do. And, the church, my dad, pretty much had a breakdown. Said, forget this, I'm out of here, and told 7,000 members, hey, F you, pardon my French, but, go somewhere else. And man, people thought he was crazy, because there's all these pastors would come hey, let me have your congregation. Yeah. And my dad's like, nah. And so again, my dad, going back to that, we seen my dad pretty much, he became like the Tupac, me against the world attitude. And, we were always taught we were like Israel, all the countries are against us. So my dad's thing is they're either for us or they're against us. So imagine hearing that every day of your life. And I'm like, Dad, you didn't do anything wrong? He's like, nah, man, I do nothing. I mean, my dad's a straight gangster. He's like, he hear no, speak no, see no evil, at that time. Yeah. Now he's amazing, and he'll cry and tell you everything he's done. You're like, Dad, but at that time, he was very, which I understand. They don't need to tell everybody their business. That's the problem with churches. Everybody, when somebody says online, on Facebook, I'll put hey, pray for my friend. He's struggling. Nobody says, okay, I'm going to pray for you. You know what they say? What happened? What did he do?
Or you posted when people have passed away, and people are like, what happened? Yeah. What did happen? It's just like...
Yeah, and I put, you see me, I said, don't worry about it, because that doesn't really matter. They passed away. Yeah. But people are nosy. People are judgmental. They like the chisma. They like the gossip. They like the TMZ, instead of just praying for a brother. So, my dad... at that time was, had Chuck Smith, and the Calvary people didn't like him. And for his own reason, my dad was radical. You know what I mean? He didn't go kiss Chuck's ring enough or something. I don't know all the details, but I was young. I was 12. But I know something went weird, and there's the other guy there that was one of the right-hand guys who was just spreading drama. So my dad he just couldn't handle it no more. He broke down and left. And that was the start of my life when I became angry, right? Because, we went from 7,000 people to white Christmases and... all these things as a kid, you just getting hooked up, and then you're thousands are around you, and then the next day you're just us, and my dad took maybe 100 people and got on a bus, and we went to Visalia, bought a tour bus. Jeez. And we moved out there to do ministry because he figured we would go out to Visalia and Fresno and all these northern areas, and they loved us out there. So we went out there thinking we're going to get away from whatever he was dealing with. Remember, he didn't sit us down and tell us, hey, kids, this is what I'm doing. I've been sinning. I've been doing wrong. No, he was they want me out because I'm brown, because I'm this, because I'm tattooed. We're thinking dang, and we're kids, bro. We're little.
Yeah. What am I going to do? Dad,
what am I going to do at 12? I mean, and then I'm seeing all these big biker guys who are supposed to be his friends, and they're loyal to the soil. Everybody's loyal. Everybody's with you till the wheels fall off, until they lose their position at a church or they lose their position at a job. And I saw that more people were mad at him, for years, because I get it. He collected everybody. God brought him. There was revival. But their eyes, a lot of them were on Pastor Phil and the ministry and the hip hop and the music. They weren't on God. And my dad used to tell people from the stage, don't follow me. If I start going crazy, don't follow me, follow Jesus. People don't ever do that, and the reality is that I realized a lot of people, I talk to people 20 years later, and they're mad because, man, when I got there, your dad gave me a nickname. Because, he never remembered names because there's so many people. So my dad pretty much formed it like a gang. And people join gangs. Why?
Because they want family.
They want family. They want to be a part of something. It's great. Just like churches. They're the biggest gang in the world. the reality is that he had a great hustle and he really did care about people.
Yeah.
But you get so big and you get so large that you just start the main thing ain't the main thing no more. And pride comes before a fall, the Bible says. And my dad's just his life is just like ours. Any Bible scriptures, it happens.
Yeah.
But my dad, instead of maybe getting help from a pastor, reaching out, nobody really was around. So he left. And with that was like my life just at that moment was like, I became angry. I was like maybe 13. And I was like, dude, this is how Christians treat other Christians? I mean, they're kicking the dude while he's down. How, I don't. And then so we move up north thinking we're going to get away from it a few hours away. And then Calvary Chapel pastors out there, one pastor started spreading, like they're putting up like flyers, like cult flyers, calling my dad a cult. And like, have you seen the Aguilars? Like, watch out for this man. And they're putting them at like my little brother's school and stuff. And it was just weird, bro. I was like,
because you guys had Lonnie. So we just watched the Jesus Revolution, the movie that came out, right?
Right.
Lonnie Frisbee was part of the movie, the whole thing. And I saw that your dad posted Lonnie Frisbee was at Set Free preaching in 1990.
We'll go off subject a little bit.
That's
we'll go
crazy.
Off Lonnie Frisbee. So I know everybody's all hyped about the Jesus movie. That's all great. I believe it's great for Christians. Like my dad says, oh, did you hear about it? I go, yeah, Christians are going to love it. None of my secular friends are going. They don't know who this is. But I like at least they gave Lonnie props. Because see, Lonnie came to Set Free in the 91, 92. And remember, videos don't lie. So if anybody ever questions me, I say, hit up YouTube. It's all there, bro. It don't lie.
Yeah.
Text messages, they don't lie either.
Your dad recorded everything, bro. You guys always had a camera.
Bro, he was smart. He was way ahead of his time. Because a lot of people just say you're a liar when they say we started the Dream Center. People are like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the tapes.
Yeah, Thanksgiving special.
Phil Aguilar is their father.
And Chill was popping, bro. You were popping in that Thanksgiving one, bro.
I had to earn it, bro. That was part of you gotta eat, gotta get food, But I mean, I always tell people like, it just don't lie. History don't lie if you have video to prove it. And it isn't about proving it because like my dad wants to be the guy or Aguilars want to be. It just is like, man, give us some props. I mean, I know we get our reward in heaven, but man, you steal our stuff and then you act like like Tommy, the guys from the Dream Center had a book called a few years after they had it, The Church That Never Sleeps. And everybody knows that was my dad's slogan. And then in the book, it's all these things that he like would do at Set Free. You know what I mean? And
you guys had a little tension there, huh?
Oh,
unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean,
I heard your guys' story about that.
Yeah, my dad will say everything's great and walk. He's I love those guys. But us, I mean, we're his kids, and we saw it from a different approach. We saw a different angle. I mean, and I've learned in this age, it's okay we used to not be able to have our own feelings. Our feelings are supposed to be our dad's feelings, and that was it.
Yeah.
We just roll with Pops, whatever Pops said, and that he didn't force us. That's just what happened when he left the church. Like I told you, told everybody later, that was like the transformation I was saying. Something inside of me, I was a happy, fun kid, but something switched over that day. And I remember saying at 13, 14, when I get older and big enough, I ain't gonna let nobody speak bad about my dad. And I'm not gonna do what everybody's doing right now, watching all these cowards, these big biker guys that he helped save their lives and their families and, drug gang members. All these people he helped, I just watched a lot of them just turn fast. And they forgot, the dude helped. Like, that guy was the reason why you're even a Christian till this day, some people.
Yeah.
And to hate him, I understand you're not happy with that. Like, he's leaving. See, a lot of people felt abandoned. And the people we deal with, we reach out to a lot of people who never had dads.
Yeah.
Set Free's great at, if you didn't have a dad, you're going to fit in good with us. Because my dad was like their dad. Yeah. So I understand the pain. A lot of people, I did feel bad for them. They're like our uncles or family.
Yeah.
But my thing was, if your eyes are on Jesus, you're going to be okay. Like, if you really read your Bible, everything my dad's saying is just, a lot of it's his opinion. He's just, when he ain't reading the Bible, that's just his opinion. Like most pastors, you know? And so leaving there, going to Visalia and that happening, and we got kicked out of like 50 towns, bro. We moved everywhere. Pomona, Chino, Pomona, Norco. We moved all around. And everywhere we went, Calvary Chapel, we're posting up flyers. About watch out for these people. They recruit young people. They'll turn you into a cult. And we're just like, dude, and my dad tried to go on TBN, like his friend was Paul and Jan, and
he was,
they try to back him up, but I mean, they were like, sue the bastards, the white guy. And I'm like, bro, that's easy for you to say, but we ain't got no money. You need money, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, I guess they, going back to Lonnie, sorry, I'll get off track a little bit, but hey, I'll throw us back on. Lonnie came to Set Free. He had, at that time, he had HIV.
He did. He had AIDS.
AIDS, yeah. They didn't probably talk about it in the movie.
No, but I searched him up. He got divorced. Supposedly homosexual lifestyle. Who knows?
Oh, he was straight gay.
Really?
Oh, 100.
That's crazy.
I mean, at times, what I mean? That was his real. But the thing is, he came to my dad, a broken man, right? And my dad had went with him this is crazy. People don't know. There's a video on there of my dad at his funeral, and my dad's pretty much calling out like Chuck Smith and everybody.
Really?
Oh, my dad was the Dennis Rodman of Christianity. My dad would get up there, and I mean that's why right now the reality, he's not rich.
Yeah.
My dad.
Yeah.
Because he didn't shut his mouth. I have a lot of my dad's same tendencies. I could be a lot richer if I just shut my mouth and said, yes, sir. And I played, I played, I'm coming back to the heart of worship. And I, wore a turtleneck and I wore tight pants and I could be a great worship leader somewhere. I've been at places and I just literally left the stage. I'm like, this is cheesy, bro. I feel no Holy Spirit. I don't feel, and walk off. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying that there's some in us, Aguilars, that we just, we build stuff up and we sometimes just flip the table and walk away. I'm not saying that's a great quality.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that we've got a lot of bit of the David DNA in us, you know what I mean? King David. And so he went there and my dad was just like another home for him. And my dad didn't let him preach for 1 year.
Really?
He's like, no, you're going to sit. That's how gangster my dad was. He's like, well, I started the Jesus revolution, this. And my dad goes, I don't care. My dad was gangster because he was the guy. So my dad didn't probably want him on stage either because he probably out-preached my dad. And what's crazy is Lonnie Frisbee's family never went to any of his revivals. Like his sister, his mother, like his whole family. They came to Set Free and got saved at Set Free when he preached the first time there.
Wow, that's amazing.
So there's videos, and my dad and our people sponsored him to go to I think he went to like Africa, Hawaii, and he was doing to do ministry, and Set Free people and some great people that were part of Set Free helped him all the way till he died of AIDS,
It's crazy.
And what's crazy is Laurie. My dad used to always tell these guys, why don't you guys give this guy his props while he's alive? And my dad went with them to John, because he started the Vineyard movement too. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, he went to John Wimber. My dad went with him when John Wimber was alive. He went with him to Chuck. He tried to make peace, my dad. And my dad saw, they don't want no peace. They're just kicking him when they're like, he's dirty, he's gay, he's this. You know what I mean? All the stuff that church is still guilty of doing. And I'm not shocked, you know what I mean? This is 20, 30 years later. But yeah, we would see him. He lived in our house and he would, he's just a great man. But dude, I don't care what people say. You don't get to pick who's called. I don't get to pick who God's going to use.
Yeah.
You don't get to pick. I mean, so God used this little guy, dude, and this dude just ended up being at Set Free for the last few years, and he died. And yeah, they just never, it's funny now because you see the promotion for it, and God bless him, But Lonnie's like kind of like, to me, I didn't see it, but he looks like the star of it, like the cool guy at least of it. And it's true, some of that stuff, and Chuck Smith, but him and Chuck Smith never made peace in the end. I guess in the movie they said they made peace. Unfortunately, they never did. That's sad. But that's not the truth. But Hollywood needs a happy ending. But yeah, my dad, man, he could go deep on that. But that's just like, that dude was used mightily, and he made Calvary Chapel what it is.
Wow. The
people that are still there for the Jesus movement was that guy. God used him. It wasn't, and Homeboy just had a building, and Chuck was the teacher.
Yeah.
And then he was the, but then again, pride starts coming in. Everybody thinks they built it or this. I watched the thing happen at the Dream Center, man. My dad packed that place out. They had nobody there, and I watched the dad and the son, and my dad was getting prideful too,
Because you guys said you had services Saturday nights?
We did Saturday nights, and we have like 1,000 people, and then they do Sunday mornings, his son, and they have like 50 people. So that got to be a little, but nobody wanted to hear him preach. He's not, people may say now he's a good preacher, but they're basically saying that because they like what he does. They like that Kanye West donated turkeys or this and backpacks. Christians love the hype. Like all my friends from Korn, when they got saved, the band Korn, everybody's like, oh, they're with us now. They're one of us. We get so jacked and excited when, one of these guys, a star comes to Jesus. I get excited of the homeless guy who comes to Jesus more than the star. I get excited of the drug addict or the gang member, that wasn't, the stars, it's overrated. And I guess that we've been with a lot of them, so we know them, and it's overrated. They're spoiled, they're rich, and they go from what my dad told Filthy one time from Korn. Yeah. He says, he was mentoring him, he says, he started preaching, maybe going he went to Harvard or some church, and my dad goes, oh, you're doing great, Filthy, you just went from one stage to the other.
Wow.
See, Pops is crazy. And Filthy was like, what? Like, he didn't know. Because my dad taught Filthy the Bible. Filthy wanted to know the Bible. My dad taught him the Bible, like the real hardcore truth about like sin is sin. And this is, and a lot of these times people like to go to places and just get told what they want to hear. And then when they're a star, they go there. So yeah, I was part of the Whosoevers and Ryan Reese. They're all friends of mine. We all did stuff, revival together. But somehow just, as back to being, 14, 15.
Yeah.
we moved to like, you know, some bad areas in LA, and we moved to the Dream Center, and we started hanging around the gang members there and learning all the stuff. And remember, we were already raised around gang members that were reformed, but they taught us a lot as kids. They taught us, don't let nobody mess with your dad. So I guess that put in our head, you know, was a lot. And we were doing music at the time. About 15 years old, me and my brother got record deals with Rick Rubin, the guy who's like a famous, and QD3 is Quincy Jones' son. He did Tupac, and we had all these offers, and we were doing all the high schools in LA County and rapping. We were like little stars, you know, and kind of doing anti-gang, anti-drug message. And my dad was doing the Dream Center at the time, and we just basically got in the music business. And we're like, we don't want to do Christian rap. It's cheesy. It's whack. You know, we never like compared ourselves to T-Bone or to, I don't know, whatever, KJ2, KJ52, or to, I mean, Toby, you gotta think, Toby Mac has won the best rapper award for like 20 years straight. Yeah. He's not good. But if you say that, then you're not going with the Nashville, you know, GMAs. But we never wanted to get we wanted a Grammy. We didn't want a GMA. Does that make sense? Like our mind was more set on things of, why do we have to be put in this box? We want to reach the world. So we can reach the world by staying in this, you know, playing churches, you know what I mean? So we started doing nightclubs and started doing, you know, just traveling, going to Europe, going to Iraq, going performing for the troops. I
saw that. It's crazy.
So we got to do some cool stuff. And then, yeah, man, but we morphed into like the music thing, but then we started morphing into like more of a bike club. And that's when, you know, it was our time, you know, about 19, 20 years old. I just started really having no relationship with God. I was mad at, like, we moved back to Orange County, and I told my dad, like, yeah, anybody now wants to talk bad about you, they're gonna have to deal with your sons. And we hear somebody talk bad about them, they're getting punched.
I like when you said that way in the documentary. You're like, someone talks bad about my dad. I was like, that's exactly how I felt that.
Well, I mean, they just say like they always say you gotta pray for him.
Yeah.
And I say I'm gonna lay hands on him for sure, you know. But and I'm not claiming to be a tough guy. I'm just saying, bro, that's my dad. And I just don't get it. And you gotta remember, for all those years, you gotta think for 15, 16 years, you're seeing your dad on the news and Colts and this. And then when like a few years after he left the big church in like 92 or whatever year it was, like another news channel said, we're gonna do a good interview on you. They're gonna do a good interview. And they did an interview, and they show them like bodies being burned, like, you know, Jonestown, and I mean poisoning people. And they show them like, they're comparing his face, and they got my dad terrible. I said, Dad, do not talk on camera, because you're like, you look guilty. You know what I mean? He's like, they got him sweating, and he has like long hair. It's a terrible. I mean, they just set him up. They thought he was going to do a good.
Was this before the face tattoo, or was this after?
Yeah, it was before. Yeah. So I just, you know, just seeing all that drama and trauma, you just never dealt with it. I never had a talk with my dad about what he did. He never sat us down. I said, Dad, I tell him now, you could have saved us a lot of headaches and a lot of fights if you just sat us down and said, son, some of the stuff they're saying is true. Wow. I am guilty, but no, he just kept it. I'm like, this would have been good to know 25 years ago, Dad. You know, and I'm not blaming him. We all our own men, but he was our hero. He was our Superman, you know? Pops was the man. So we wanted to be like him. We wanted to dress like him. We wanted to ride bikes like him, because that's all we had. And when you lose everything and you see 7,000 people disappear.
Yeah, it's tough.
And you look around, it's just your sister, your dad, your mom, your brothers. And a few followers. I mean, he took like 100 people with him when he left the big church in 92. But bro, over the 6 months, it's just, everybody, which I don't blame them. You know what I mean? They started going back to their families, and, you know, just, it got rough to be around my dad. You know what I mean? He was very intense, you know.
What was your mom like during this whole process? I don't hear too much about her. She seems more like background, right?
Yeah, my mom's like I was raised where my dad, you know, it's a cancel generation now, but my dad was raised like women should be seen and not heard. He don't think that way no more, because he has a bunch of granddaughters, right? So they tell him, Papa, you don't tell us what to do. You know what I mean? They boss him around, you know? He has no more power with the kids. But so my mother's a Sicilian mother. There's two types of Sicilian mothers, you know, wives. One, they'll stab you if you do something wrong, and they put you in check. They run the show. My mom wasn't that. My mom was this nice college, you know, girl who was just a good girl. My dad was just getting sober one time off of one of his drug trips. He had like a Hawaiian shirt on, and she thought that he was Hawaiian, and he looked healthy, and they ended up dating. And then my dad pretty much, you know, they stay together ever since, you know what I mean? So my mother is like, she's the backbone of this family. People don't know that. Her and my sister are like the strongest people I know. They're the reasons why my dad even talked till this day, is because my mother, you know?
Really?
And we had a lot of beef over the years. So my mother she's just the most amazing godly woman, you know what I mean? She just loves Jesus so much. And I believe if a woman loves Jesus, you know, it doesn't matter what the husband does or says, they stick with him because they love Jesus more than they love that man. And we always tell my mom, how did you put up with this guy? You know, how do you put up with my dad all these years?
Yeah.
And everybody's that's $1 million question people ask my mom.
Really?
And my mom, she told me, I used to like to rescue dogs growing up. I'm like, what? So he's a rescuer? Yeah. But my mom always said, I love Jesus. No matter what he did, I loved Jesus more than I loved him. And God put me here to the day he dies. I'm going to take care of him. And she does.
Wow.
And they have the best relationship, man, after, so many years. They're just like newlyweds, you know what I mean? It's very inspiring. But growing up, my dad wasn't that guy. My dad's tall, dark, and handsome. He had power, he had fame. I seen it all, bro. You know what I mean? So it was like, Pops was a gangster, and he was the type, like, don't judge me. I would watch him tell preachers would come up to him and give him he make those preachers feel like this small, bro. Wow. He was good with the tongue. Wow. They come up, hey, brother, I see you with the, doing this or that. And he'd be like, he just fired back, hey, take the log out of your eye. He just knew how to get like young Christians. Like this one guy, his name's Christian Hosoi.
Yeah,
he's like a
skater.
skateboarder.
Yeah. What, they had beef?
You want to hear this story?
Oh,
we got the beef. We were Tupac and Biggie of the Christian world, bro.
Christian's dope.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. No, he's a cool guy, but this is years ago. He just got saved, right?
Yeah.
Probably,
He was a hothead.
Well, yeah, it was about 17 years ago, right? He just got out of jail and gave his life to Jesus. He's going to the sanctuary wherever he goes. We were in Hawaii, right? At this time, we're fully outlaw mode. There's no Jesus at all, at least with me. My dad, if he's here, he'll tell you he was Jesus, and he don't know what we were doing. But I'll tell you 100%, we were far away from the Lord. As this is what I told you when I was about 20, in my 20s, and we were there was no Jesus at all for me. It was my time to be like, okay, we got our own gang, set free soldiers, we ride bikes. We're going to we're not trying to be hard. We're not trying to push nobody around. But we ain't let nobody speak bad about this man ever again. This guy saved lives. We put my dad definitely on a pedestal because that was our dad. And you saw him do so many miracles, helping people. You're like, man, what a good guy. You know what I mean? And so we were in Hawaii, and we're out there partying, drinking, smoke. We're doing everything you could think. If you're watching, we did everything. We're having a grand old time, right? We're not there trying to share about Jesus. We're not passing out tracts. We're not, we made it a point. One time when we got to a point with our club, you couldn't even, my dad had at that time, came back to Orange County, this 2000, and bro, he had probably 500 people.
Wow.
And he pretty much told 500 people, just like he did back in the old days. See you later.
Wow.
And he made a church where you had to be part of the club or affiliated to go to that church.
Really?
Yeah. So he's losing. We were just, but then again, he had a lot of rich businessmen around him. People running the club, owned mortgage businesses at that time that was popping. So they took care of my dad, got him a G-Wagon, got him bikes. I mean, my dad was like, I'm done. I'm going to retire. I'm tired of helping everybody, because you get, there's a high risk of getting hurt doing ministry, as you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And man, you can help people and they kick dirt on your name with the same shoes you bought them.
Ooh, come on. Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that one more time, bro?
They kick dirt on your name with the same. I mean,
that's crazy. Man.
I mean, bro, for
crazy.
me, it's and that's why I told God, I don't know. I don't have any other cheeks to turn. You know what I mean? I don't know what you want me to do, God.
They hit all of them already?
Yeah, they hit all, bro. I mean, it's a lot because we started young.
Yeah.
And, it's hard not to get bitter, and we got bitter. I'm the first to say we got out of our minds, prideful. We stopped doing music kind of. We had the hip hop going. We had great opportunities to just, do music big time. And me and my brother were like, we're going to ride bikes and we're just going to make this and then A&E was going to do a documentary on us. They started filming it. So this was about early 2000, 2002.
Yeah.
And
you're talking about Christian Hosoi.
Yeah, Christian Hosoi. I'm getting that. So we went to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And we were partying out there. And he was there with his new wife or his wife or girlfriend. I don't know who she was. And he was over and just suntanning, and we're a bunch of bikers there with our friends from the Vagos. They had a chapter out there, so we're partying with them. And my dad's just in the, being my dad, and he's just the center of attention. And this is great stories. Nobody's heard this. And Christian Hosoi, the skateboarder, he wants to talk to my dad. And I already know the look when somebody walks over and wants to talk to my dad, and I know they're a Christian. I already know it's going to go south. And I feel more bad for him than my dad. Because I know my dad, you don't want to test him on scripture or anything because people don't realize my dad's a great Bible teacher. People don't like to give him his props, but he really is. The dude, read the Bible hundreds of times. He really was he's a real great teacher. That's just not, people know him as more of a radical, evangelist, He's a real big Bible teacher. So he knows the word. And if you have something, he'll come back with you real quick and you'll lose. You know what I mean? Because he's 75. And so Christian Hosoi came up and goes, hey man, he goes, can I talk to you? And I already know when I know people's faces and the look, I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna get murdered. Oh, and he told my dad, he goes, I mean, I don't know, you guys are over there cussing and smoking. I mean, he was right. I mean, he was, and my dad just laid into this guy and goes, well, hey, your wife's over there with a bathing suit on, a two-piece. She might be stumbling these men right here, and they're married men. And I mean, the guy he felt like this. He's already a short guy, but he felt even shorter. And man, he literally looked at my dad. I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, he was like, oh, I'm sorry, no beef, And we seen him years later, and we gave him a hug and stuff. But I mean, my dad was just that guy. So, I think we just felt like we were getting bullied so much over the years that we're like, nobody's going to bully us. We pay our own bills. We do our own thing. We ain't under a church. We ain't under an organization. They can tell us what to do, bro. We just had that no authority bad attitude. And we were like I said, Tupac, me against the world. That's how we were raised. I don't care what anybody says. Everybody has their own opinion, but at the view of Chill, we were raised where we're Israel and everybody's against us. If you're not for us, you're against us. If you don't go to Set Free, if you don't go to our church, you're not a real radical Christian. You're not, you know what I mean? And it's a lot to be raised with, and my dad was very like you didn't cry, you didn't hug each other. I started doing a little worship, probably like because I didn't really get like worship thing. I didn't really just pick up worship. I did hip hop.
When did you start learning how to play like guitar, keys, all that?
Probably like 99.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe 2000. And my dad was just like, man, I'm tired of worship leaders. They never show up. They're always late. They're always complaining. Musicians, they're the drama, so you're going to learn. I'm like, well, I don't want to learn. And this time I'm trying to be cool. I'm riding a Harley.
Yeah.
I'm gangster, right? Getting in fights, and, we're partying the night before church and going. So I'm like, I don't want to get on stage and sing, but, God was using me despite of my brokenness. And my dad showed me a documentary of this guy, Keith Green. And I cared less about Christian music. I thought it was cheesy.
Yeah.
I never felt the Holy Spirit growing up. I never felt I knew Jesus was real, and I knew that like there was a purpose for my life, but I never felt the Holy Spirit. Never. People say, oh, I was 5 years old, I felt it. I'm like, no, I was still playing with toys, and I didn't care about the Holy Spirit. But my point is, when I was about 21, my dad showed me a documentary, Your Love Broke Through, it's called. And this guy was, on his way to be the next Elton John, all this stuff. And he literally, God shut every door, and he literally just called to the ministry. And he was taking people in like my dad did. He's just a radical dude. And he kept on saying, like, please, God, don't let my radical tendencies scare people away. Because he would get on stage, like, don't clap for me, clap for Jesus. And I love that because I know for me, bro, the hardest thing for me is separating. I know it's all about Jesus, but it's hard once you get up there to be humble, but also be a worshiper and be like, you're like, man, I don't, that was always hard for me. Like, I would always say, like, turn off all the lights and let's worship. I don't really need the lights on me, you know what I mean? It's like, I know who's singing through me. I'm just a broken vessel. So I started doing that more than hip hop because I had to. And I started learning some songs, a few chords. And then my dad's like, well, if you think that music sucks, write your own stuff. Again, my dad was like, quit whining about it. And there's only two guys I listened to growing up, a guy named Tim Miner and John Gibson. They both sound like Stevie Wonder. They both are white boys that sound like brothers. And I had some soul, my mom's Sicilian. So I wanted to do and I said, I just don't understand it. Everything, Sonic Flood and all these groups there, I could sing Your Love Forever, great songs, you know what I mean? But I just didn't I felt like, man, am I weird? Because I'm depressed. I'm angry. I'm mad at life at times, but I love you, God. I mean, I know I love Jesus, I knew that deep inside that he was real, but I was running, but I was like, I never heard much about broken people. And the scripture's filled with broken, jacked up people, misfits. But I never heard about it in worship. Now, you got to understand, 25 years later, everybody's singing about brokenness. Everybody's singing about, I'm wretched, I'm a wretched sinner, and I'm this and that. And, I made a mistake, God. When I was growing up, we never heard that. I mean, there may have been somebody, I didn't hear it. Tim Miner and John were the only guys that talked about it. So I always, loved those guys. But they were, hard to see in concert. They came to the church, and they were cool people. But so I kind of just, use them as my hey man, I like these guys. Then Keith Green, and he was, and so I just started writing songs, and then I wrote my first song talking about I'm just have a broken heart in a song. That's all I have to give to you, God. And people just at our church that were never into worship started lifting their hands, started crying. I was looking at my dad like, what the hell's going on? You know what I mean? And my dad's like, he knew, he knew, and it was a short little period of time, but we had kind of like a little revival again. But the enemy was on the prowl, and the enemy was chasing after us. And my dad stopped doing the church there, and that was in Orange County I was telling you about.
Yeah.
And we just started doing the biker thing. We bought a nightclub, a bar, and we started just having, parties there and, crazy stuff going on. There's shootings there, there's stabbings, fights, and I'm running the place. And it's, my wife was there and she's bartending. And it was just, it was very dysfunctional. And
at any point, do you ever just think like during this time where you're kind of like you said you're running and stuff? Did you ever just get a moment by yourself, just thinking like, what's going on? What am I doing?
I think I kept kind of busy, so I didn't like have to think about that. And I was just so angry and mad. There's some about me that was just triggered. I said at a young age, because I was a happy kid and like joke around and stuff, and I still did. But yeah, man, I knew God wasn't probably pleased.
Yeah.
But I didn't care because I thought like this was my thinking. We help so many people. Who cares?
Oh, okay.
Like what else we have? I mean, what else we have to prove?
Yeah.
And
like you did your job.
We did
your
our
thing.
job. Yeah. Nobody. We don't fit in nowhere. Nobody likes us. I mean, by this time we were like the bad boys of Christianity. Christian bike clubs. Everybody's talking bad about us on Facebook and online. I mean, it's like, and then we see them, they're scared. So we kind of just took on that thing. Okay, you're gonna say we're the bad boys, we're going to be the bad boys. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what the approach we took. I'm not saying it's right, but that's the approach we took.
Yeah.
And then we got into politics and drama, and there's, biker politics, and I don't really want to get into that, but, a lot of stuff happened, and,
You guys had that big fight down by the beach, right?
Allegedly. Just kidding.
All over, man. It was all over. It was crazy. I know you've talked about it a bunch, but that was wild, man.
Yeah, I mean, we just I tell people the farther you get away from the cross, the closer you get into sin, And it's like, people say like, I fell into sin. I'm like, no, I dove head first because I felt again, I knew this much, I'm going to heaven regardless. And that's not a cool way to think, but I mean, that's just the way that's how I thought. And I would tell people, you can't tell me any different, like, and that whole time I could have been worshiping, doing, a lot of different stuff. That's the only thing I think back on and go, man, I wasted a lot of time on the foolish things of this world. And that's why the Bible verse that talks about God, once I was, forget me when I was a blasphemer, I was a liar, I was a thief, I was a violent man. Like, forget that old man. And he does, which is great about Jesus.
Yeah.
People don't, but Jesus does. But I more feel like I wasted time, but I know it's part of my testimony because, like, we were raised in the church and then we fell away. Our story's backwards. A lot of people weren't raised in the church. They were like raised out in the streets and then they come to Jesus. Ours, we were raised in the church and then we went out because we had all those examples around us, people that did drugs and gangs, but I'm telling you, we were impressed by it. My sister became a drug addict. We became getting involved with gangs and all, and my dad really couldn't stop our behavior because I feel in a way he kind of created that monster. He was a wild man. And he didn't back down to nobody, so we took on that persona and that, Aguilar name, which is, it doesn't matter, it don't mean nothing now, but at the time, it was very like, we were back in Orange County, we were at the place that, we felt like had like, betrayed us, you know what I mean? So we're gonna show everybody that we're back here, but we came back with a different attitude, a lot of hurt and a lot of brokenness, and when you have that stuff and you ain't dealt with your trauma, it's very bad. It's a setup for failure. So if you're watching this, man, the best thing is just to ask Jesus to take that unforgiveness, get around people that are talking about good things, get to the front of the class where people are learning. I was the guy who stayed against the wall in the back and, and you don't learn nothing there. And so that's the shoulda, coulda, woulda life. I don't want to do that, but I always think, man, what if I would have done this? Or what if I would have kept doing worship? Because it's hard to be fighting on, Friday night and then be, praising Jesus the next day on a Saturday, because our church was Saturday night. So, and then after that, we go out and party,
Really? Right after church?
Right after church.
Wow,
yeah.
that's crazy.
So I'd be singing worship songs and wanting to leave, wanting to slip my wrist because I was depressed with life. Man. That's what people don't realize. I'm a realist. I'll get up there and, because the Holy Spirit still moves. I always tell people, he don't need me to move, but he still moves through broken people.
Yeah.
And people don't like that. And there's some Christians watching right now, you're judging, saying, no, that's not true. No, God is used by dad, myself, us Aguilar rascals, when we were at our worst. People still got saved. My dad used to say he can jump up on a pogo stick on stage, like jump up and down, and people are still going to come to Jesus to altar call. He was right.
Yeah.
People are hurting, and Jesus will move regardless. And you don't get to choose how God will use you. I didn't get a pick. I ran from it, and then God brought me back. So yeah, all that stuff happened.
The raid, right? The raid was crazy.
Yeah, we had the biggest raid in Orange County history.
It's wild.
So we got in a fight with these guys, and that was just that wasn't the main reason, but they had been investigating us for over 2.5 years, and they were trying to put us as like go back to the old days of like how my dad had a big, massive following, all these crazy people, and I don't necessarily blame these people. I mean, we had every high-powered organization, from every organization, gang, every, I used to tell my dad now, I said, it's funny because all our heroes used to be on the feds list. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I mean, those are our friends, like we'd have lunch with those guys. So that, who you are, who you hang around with is who you are pretty much, you know what I mean? And what you attract, what you respect, you attract that, you know what I mean? And so instead of attracting things of good things like seated in heavenly places around people that are living in high places and that are worshiping in Jesus, we're attracting this crowd where you could come and just be whoever you are. You can still be the same way. And, my dad's going to love you. I mean, there was really no challenge to a man changing. And my dad's like, oh, Jesus will change him. But we more like we liked it. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody tells you they didn't like that power and that people were afraid of you when you walked in, they're lying. And my dad's more story will be like, he'll tell you like, oh, no, I was just serving Jesus at that time. Because my dad's a great politician. He's a great, that's his style,
Yeah.
He's just that guy. But he knows the truth. We were there and it was just, we were his kids and man, we just got out of control. We treated him like he was, John Gotti, you know what I mean? He was like and we knew we were going to heaven. So we were like, we trained our people, which is really sad, is when they join our club, we're like, bro, forget a patch or this, you get eternal life. Imagine you get to die for the club, forget a club, you get to die you're going to go to heaven, bro, if you put your life on the line for Chill Aguilar.
Wow.
I mean, that's heavy stuff to sell.
Yeah, heck yeah.
And it wasn't like my dad was telling us to sell that. We were selling that because we didn't want, we got membership,
Yeah.
And so we just, we're out of our minds, got in drama, and then we didn't know we were being raided, and then the biggest raid in Orange County history, they came at 4 a.m. in the morning and flashback grenades, pop, 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 through the windows, and smell, it just looked like a bomb hit our houses. We had a few houses on the street. They had paddy wagons, they had tanks on the yard, they had all my stepkids and my family dragged through the mud. I mean, it was just crazy, man. And I remember just being so angry. But at first I thought it was like the end times. That's how jacked up I was. I was like, oh, dude, it's Armageddon. Like, we're here. Like, this is what we were, this is what we were, like, I mean, I was so out of my mind. And it's early. That's where they get you early.
Yeah.
And it was a legal raid. You can't even raid at that time in the morning. Just so,
oh, really?
Yeah, but we didn't, like, that's just one of the things that we weren't even ready for it. And, and they took everything. They took our bikes, our cars. We had, Mercedes and Cadillac. We had nice stuff at that time. And they just took everything. And they even arrested we had like a little wiener dog.
Oh, really?
And there's like in the Orange County paper, you see the dog pissing on on the sheriff's, as he's like taking the dog.
No way.
Yeah, it's funny. It's an action. But yeah, it was just, dude, it was wild. I mean, that's when you start going, what the heck?
Yeah.
What happened?
Wow.
Because you start telling yourself, bro, that like we're God's soldiers, we're good,
Yeah.
we're doing this because we're still helping people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We still had homes filled with people. My dad was still talking about Jesus, but I mean, man, we were so far from where we were supposed to be. So yeah, he did that, and then from then on, our lives were changed. I mean, that was 15 years ago, I think, like somewhere around there, and never was the same after that. I mean, it wasn't like we had this radical, Saul to Paul moment. It wasn't like that. It was more like, man, like we just lost everything. We have nothing. Nobody's coming to church because they're scared.
Yeah.
We have no income. Everybody's in trouble. I mean, and then you just see again, everybody start leaving. Everybody starts going away. We just been through so many times, and it's self-inflicted for sure. We again now are seeing more people leave our life. So remember, the more people that leave your life, you just think about most people in life only have a certain, maybe small church family, or even not even church. Say they just have their relatives.
Yeah.
If they're Latinos, they got a big family. But you know what I mean? If, say the normal white family, you know what I mean? They're smart. They have two little white kids and and in Target, they take them to Target. We take 5.
With a leash.
Yeah, we have
With
5.
a leash, bro.
We have 5 kids in Walmart. You know what I mean? We're running around stealing stuff.
Bro, my grandma told us one time at Kmart, she's like, if you're not in this van in 5 minutes, I'm going to leave you. Bro, she literally left us. We're chasing down her van.
That's
like,
awesome.
That's how we were raised, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, so God, I always say, you can run from God, but all you're going to do is get tired. And I just was so tired of running, and I was never designed to be that guy. My mind was that I was, I was designed to worship. I was designed to forgive and move past it and teach and love people and spread love. But man, if we don't deal with the shock and the drama, I'm telling you, we end up carrying it like the heaviest suitcase, you know what I mean, you can ever carry in your life. And I remember after that happened, it wasn't like we were happy, but we knew that it was like the new start of a life. Like everything's taken away, you have no finances, and you're like, how do you start over from scratch?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And the house was just terrorized. I mean, they put holes in the ceilings, the walls. I mean, they were just looking for for a lot of stuff, and they found nothing, which is crazy because we were gangster and doing some stuff, but we weren't selling drugs, or they say we had a prostitute ring. Our wives were prostitutes.
Really?
Yeah, like they took like their jeans. Back then was True Religion. They took all their jeans and all their, and it's like what? So
Crazy.
I mean, they spent millions of dollars on the case, and they got nothing out of it.
Wow.
I mean, we had one guy who went to prison. One of our guys who did the stabbing, and he did 8 years because he pleaded out, just like I'm just gonna take a deal.
Yeah.
And they tried to get my dad for like a little souvenir bullet from Knott's Berry Farm.
Oh, because he's a felon.
Yeah, a felon. So I gave him 3 years for that.
Really?
Yeah, and it was just weird. I mean, the Anaheim PD's never liked my dad for decades. I mean, I will say that.
Yeah.
We have a documentary coming out soon with Peacock Network. And,
really?
Yeah, it's not
That's
a Christian
cool.
one. It's just a straight
Yeah.
secular one. But we are Christians, of course. But and they actually have we have like the FBI agents and everybody on there. We
Really?
have FBI, ATF, everybody's on our case.
Wow.
It wasn't just local, or but we didn't know that. So we started seeing all these wires and these tap wire. They've been like filming. They've been filming us for years.
Wow,
and it was
that's
crazy
crazy.
because at the nightclub we had fightings and there were shootings there, and the cops never showed up.
Wow.
So it makes sense. They were waiting for something bigger.
Yeah.
And they got it. You know what I mean? And
Wow.
that's why you can't even touch it, man. You can't dabble. We're supposed to be in this world, but not of this world. And we just became everything that we weren't. That ain't us.
Yeah.
But pride, ego, they disrespected me. I'm an Aguilar. Nobody's gonna talk about us. And we were just running. So by the time that happened, I had moved to Virginia because I couldn't stay there no more in Orange County because I was either gonna kill somebody, or I was gonna get killed, or I was gonna go to prison. And that's just the facts. And
You're telling a story that you were ready on your way to go handle some business.
I was on my way to, me and
and
my
the dude
partner.
told you he wasn't even a Christian. You said
No, he was a straight up, like a Southsider, like the real deal, bro. The guy who does most of his life in prison. Me, him, and my brother-in-law, we were going to literally end the dude's life who caused this problem. I felt to my family and started all this because it wasn't like we were looking for the drama with that club.
Yeah.
It just happened that way. You know what I mean? But this guy was I felt he was a big runner. He stirred up a lot.
Yeah.
So we were literally on our way. We were literally minutes down the road. And this dude who's not even, I mean, we baptized this guy. Just see how crazy we were.
Really?
We baptized him. He comes out of the water and he talked like this. He goes, now, he looked like a Joe Pesci, like a Mexican Joe Pesci, bro. But high up there in the food chain in that world. He goes, now, when I come and hang around you guys, I only carry 145 and not 245. I'm like, what the heck? You know what I mean? He was literally that type of guy. When I would drive with him, he'd be like, hey, bro, don't come in my car, bro. Go in the other car. Because if I get pulled over, I'm doming that cop. And I'm like, what? You're like, I mean, we were gangster. But this dude was like real gangster,
Yeah.
And so,
Dang.
and so he literally, like I said, he stopped the car and says, hey, what are you guys about?
checked you.
You about Jesus or you about this?
Dang.
Because he's like, one thing I respected about you guys never look for, because we didn't looking for trouble. Let's
Yeah.
not say we weren't around acting. We didn't like bullies.
Yeah.
That was our problem. If somebody's being a bully to somebody, we would say, hey, don't bully them. Or if you're talking pushing Christians around, we're not the Christians you're going to push around, right? That was us. And we were just tired again of the same cheesy Christian bike clubs who that they wear the Jesus patch and but they want to act like they want to go to the runs of these other outlaw clubs and they act like that's okay. And we didn't do that stuff. We were who we were. But they go pay their $20, $30 to those runs, the bike runs, the Christians, and it's okay.
Yeah.
But if we hang around with the club, we're all of a sudden we're affiliated. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
we're
for
not.
sure.
We're just but it's okay for them to do it because we're wearing a Jesus patch. So we didn't want to be affiliated with the Christian bike clubs either because most of them were cheesy. And my dad started the Christian bike clubs all the way back in the days, and we watched them too rip. Like I said, most people are like vampires, bro. They can't stand to look at themselves in the mirror. And they're always biting off somebody else.
Ooh.
And that's usually what's happened with us. So we get frustrated. Like, dude, we started that. Or when I think about people writing broken songs, I'm like, man, I was writing songs about brokenness and worship 20 years ago. But, it's just, people were just a little late to the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for me, it was just I just end up, we're on our way to this guy's tattoo shop. And I was like, I'm going to end it. I don't care if I go to jail, blah, blah. And I didn't care. And if anybody knew me back then, they knew I was about that life. I don't have to brag about it. I was a nice dude, but I would definitely be the first to put in work,
Yeah.
Because I felt like it was protecting the family. And I mean, just so out of my mind because there's no Jesus there. So when there's no Jesus, there's no peace. And we turned the car around and from that day on, I never looked back. And I just literally, I left the club because it was still kind of going on. I told my dad I'm going to Virginia. I had an older brother there who had a mega church, just like Set Free.
Geronimo, right?
Geronimo, yep. Called The Rock. I went there. My brother told me, you got to get out of there, get away from dad in that place. It's a cult, I was like, well, it's not a cult, just like.
When did your brother leave? Because he was really like involved, right, back in early days?
My brother left as soon as the money stopped. Yeah, he was a stepbrother, so he left as soon as the Set Free was massive, as soon as my dad said, I'm out of here. Because, remember, my dad didn't get fired. He just said, I'm out of here. He's crazy. I'm like, Dad, you could at least got a 401k or something.
Yeah.
My dad would get the offering, bro. They did make back then, maybe $1 million, you know what I mean, on one offering.
Jeez.
And he wouldn't even pass the plate. You know what he'd do? He put it in envelopes and go give it out to people who needed it. He walked around with 20 grand in his pocket. He's like, we're going to Sizzler, everybody. He was the worst business guy ever. You know what I mean? And
well, he said his story is how to build up an empire and how to tear it down, right?
Yeah.
How to burn it down.
Yeah, we're pros at that.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and he's built mega churches. That's why I laugh when people say, I want to build a mega church. I want this. Oh my God. You're like, dude, we built so many big churches and left them, just flipped them. I've never seen anybody leave. I'm not proud of that. I'm just saying that
it's crazy.
People would die to get.
Yeah.
That's why when people go, I have a friend, he goes, hey man, can you come to my church? We're not that big. We have about 300. I go, bro, at one time, 300's a mass. It's still a massive church. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. But he was kind of down on himself. I'm like, bro, to get 20 people in a church these days
for sure.
is a miracle. You know what I mean? And you're thriving if you got 200 people. I'm telling you, it's just, man, God can work with 200. I watched my dad start with 10 people. He was teaching karate when he first got out of prison. And that's how he got people in the church because he was a black belt. And that's how it built. And they told somebody, and then they needed a friend who needed to get off drugs. And people all day, literally, if we can go to town right now, me and you, we can go to Alabama right now, right?
Yeah.
We could start a mega church within a year. Because they're 10 years behind. No disrespect to Alabama.
Yeah.
But that's what we have, that gifts, my dad and us. We could go somewhere because we have that gang mentality. That's all Set Free was a big gang. And fatherless people who had no father, and the good father song, My dad was a good father way before that song, and people looked at him as a father, and they still look at him this day, and they respect that. And just like your dad, he's like a father to people that aren't even his kids.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they're lost, and we're not and remember, my dad wasn't the greatest father to his own kids. He was out winning the world. We were, pretty much not really, if we didn't have a drug problem or a gang problem at that time as kids, he wasn't paying attention to us.
Wow.
That's the facts. It's not that he's a bad guy. He's busy. My dad was on a mission to save the world, Yeah. He was Cap to save a hoe, you know what I mean? He was that guy, you know what I mean? He was my dad was the type to try to save everybody. But at the same time, you lose your kids. And what good is it to gain the whole world and lose your own soul? And, as I'm 43 now, I know a lot now. I make a lot of the same mistakes he makes. Yeah. So I show a lot more grace and compassion. I said, I can't believe you did that. I have the same problem with my 15-year-old daughter. I'm sorry. You
got fresh ink up there too.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, my daughter's name. Yeah.
It's cool.
And so my point is that, I'm learning, I'm growing. So I can't ever, I give him a lot more grace now, because me and my dad, when I went to Virginia, he was pretty upset.
Because your his relationship was basically...
They were terrible. Yeah, I'm sorry. Geronimo left. He left probably when we left to Visalia, he stayed around for there. He was around for about 6 months to a year, I guess. And then he left as soon as there was no money, and he saw that it wasn't going nowhere. He left the Northridge. He left on the night of the Northridge, the big earthquake. I don't know what year that was, 94.
What year was that? 94?
Yeah, he left in the middle of the night with him and another guy, and they left and never left, said nothing to us. But I wasn't close with him. He was close with my other older brother, MJ, but I wasn't close with him. My sister, we all thought he was kind of a phony from the start, Really? We kind of would blame him that he kind of helped ruin Set Free too, Because remember, it wasn't like Set Free just my, haters were coming or Calvary. It was self-inflicted. My dad, my brother, they had, something to do with the fall of it too. You know what I mean? When you're doing bad and sin, you never want to tell nobody, oh, don't judge me, bro. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. When you start preaching that at service every Sunday, your pastor's probably doing bad. If you're always talking about don't judge me, you're probably because you want to hide something.
Yeah.
And so my older brother, he bounced. He just, he left his wife and his kids and a year earlier, and then he bounced and he left. He didn't even say goodbye to us.
Bro, he got into there was some crazy stuff that happened, right?
Well, yeah, I went there. I went to Virginia. I went there to lead worship for his church. At that time, he had 1,000 people. When I got there, when I brought the worship, because now by that time I was broken. But bro, I felt like I was in a witness protection program because I had left everything I've known for 29 years. I left at 29. Dude, there was like deer in my front yard, like deer. And I didn't know, I mean, I was like, dude, I was super paranoid. Like, I was like, I just come from this crazy raid, this and that. I mean, dude, violence. And I get there and my brother's walking around with like a white, like Versace suit on. And I'm like, and he has like Biker Pass on his like license plate.
Oh, really?
And my dad used to call himself Biker Pass. And then the whole place looks like Set Free on steroids.
It's a big church. It was a big church, right?
Yeah, but he did like really nice. I mean, he had like $1 million worth of lights and like, I mean, he had like a show. Like he was building like an empire. And he had like laundry mats and this and 24-hour fitness type gyms. And I was like, dude, but when I got there, I really thought my brother was like, see, at that time, I was still thinking God blesses you off of the stuff you have. See, I know now that means nothing. Money is not a blessing from God. It's great. Money's the cheapest thing about me, and I make good money.
Wow,
but that's the cheapest thing about me. But I realized that I have so many other qualities I've learned about myself, learning my self-worth, that are way better than money. Money's cheap, but man, my brother's a good businessman, and he put the church right back in the hood. Wow. I'm like, why'd you put it in the hood? I asked him, right? He's like, because white people love this. They're going to donate. Man. They're going to donate. And you know what they did? He got millions. And in Richmond, Virginia, bro, they're 15 years behind. So Geronimo goes there and he tells this story 12 years before that he's heroin addict and his dad's part of this outlaw bike gang called whatever's. Yeah. He tells his whole story and I'm like, what are you talking about? You never shot heroin. He pretty much took my dad's story, took it to Virginia, and everybody fell in love with it. And then he tells another story that he was walking, at the 16 you can see it on YouTube. It's on there. He was on like the CBN Club or whatever, like one of those Christian shows. And he's walking and he's all hammered on crack. And I mean, he probably smoked weed and did some crack. He wasn't he was a DJ, bro. The guy was a DJ. He was a nice kid. And he literally went to, he said that he was walking on the steps of like a church. He walks in and this guy takes him back to meet the pastor, and the pastor has jeans on and long hair. And he's like, wow, this guy's cool. I'm a gangster, but this guy's really a gangster. I mean, bro, it's online. Wow. You can hear the interview. And he goes, then the guy tells me about Jesus. Then I give my life to Jesus. And then at the end, he goes, I am your father. And I'm like, and then he's like, Oprah couldn't even make that happen. And I'm like, dude, this guy, I mean, I was like teary-eyed listening to him tell the story. Yeah. I'm like, wait, that's not true. You know what I mean? Man. My dad had his secretary go find him when he got saved, when he changed his life around, when he got out of prison, like years later, and Set Free was forming. Because they hadn't seen each other since he was 3 years old. My dad left him, as a young kid with his mom. And then my dad went and had his secretary go find where he was. And he was playing soccer at a park. And my dad invited him to one of the church functions, and the family, all met him, and we all of a sudden we have an older brother now, and he's cool, and he looks like my dad, and he's in charge, he's like, then my dad puts him on stage, he's a rapper, and he's like, famous in the church, and he can have any girl he wants, it's just all, and so years later, he went to Virginia because at that time we didn't know he was hiding out there, but he went to Virginia because he had gotten drama in Texas. That's what he got busted for. So he goes to Virginia and he's there for 12 years and starts this mega church. And I mean, Planet Shakers, Carl Lentz. You should have known Carl Lentz wanted to go hang out with him. That Carl Lentz was he's doing his thing. You know what I mean? So I mean, greater men have fell before us. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's no judgment. All I'm saying is that when I got there, I was gangstered out. I was on edge. I was so sad because the family that I was close, that was my family for 29 years, I had to leave. Wow. I took my wife and my kid, and I went to Virginia and left everything I'd known and loved. And my dad wasn't happy about that, and my family wasn't happy about it. I got called Judas, betrayed. I mean, bro, I just couldn't stay in Orange County. I was like, we're in Anaheim. Yeah. The cops took all our guns, took everything and what am I going to do if these guys come? I'm like, I'm going to get this. I'm not staying here with no weapons. You know what I mean? Like I told my dad. Yeah. And, I was definitely need to get out. I couldn't stay no longer. And, if I were, and I remember God telling me, if you love your kid, get out of town. Wow. And I left there, and I got there and it was just, I thought it was something different. I thought it was going to be like, I thought my brother had changed. I didn't see my brother in like, I ain't been around him in like maybe 17, 16 years, a long time, And he said, first thing I hit him up, I said, hey, bro, are you still doing the same old thing? A bunch of women and stuff. He's like, oh, no, not at all, bro. Would I have all this if God didn't bless me? And I'm thinking, okay, I'm out of my mind too because I'm just going through some crazy stuff. And, I was there, and within the first week, my wife was like, hey, like, I see like, a 15-year-old girl like taking out his trash and like he's kind of flirting with her and because she was in the office. And I'm like, oh, Lord, good Lord. And I had just left home and, like.
Did you know already some of that stuff that was happening, like the case? Did you know about any of that?
No, the case wasn't even happening. I was there for 3 years and then I kind of was there and miserable the first 6-7 months. And I was drinking, and I'm not a drinker, but I was so depressed because I was like, dude, I left my family.
Yeah.
They all hate me now.
Yeah.
My dad would write me text messages like, you Judas, you Absalom. And I'm like, what the heck, dude? Like, yeah, and I write back, I'm like, fool, you know that all that came from David, from his sin. But I didn't, but bro, I never disrespected him.
Yeah.
And then you got to remember, then I have all these old haters, set free haters that are now like friends with me, trying to contact me because I heard you left your dad the cult. And I'm like, dude.
Man.
And, and one guy's like, man, you threw a brick through my back window, but I forgive you, I'm like, oh, dang. But they just want to know the chismo. They want to know the gossip.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I never folded on my dad. Never did. I was always like, that's my dad. I'm not going to talk bad about him. I did what I did. I take full responsibility for what I did while I was there,
Yeah.
And I'm not a ranker. I'm not going to throw it on him. It was me. I did what I did and take it. I took it on the chin. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to change.
Yeah.
So I got to Virginia. My brother wanted me to like lead the band, and they had about 1,000 members, and the band they're playing all this stuff my dad played in the 80s. Like they would take the Rolling Stones songs, Start Me Up. They would do like Stairway to Heaven. They do this like 7-minute solo. The guy played with his tongue and like, it's like a show and everybody's going crazy.
Yeah.
And then he's preaching all my dad's sermons. And he was basically just a ghetto, a crack version of my dad.
Wow.
There's nobody like my dad. He's the best preacher, soul winner. I mean, that dude can spit game like nobody I've ever heard before. When he talks, people, God uses.
Yeah.
My brother was more like he was good, but he was using all my dad's stories and lines, which is fine. But he didn't claim my dad. So it always made me upset. Like, why you don't even claim our dad? Like, he would claim him as like this gangster from LA. Don't mess with him because he knows his gangster his dad is. But he never like talked about, these are my dad's sermons. These are my dad. I give my dad props. I give him his flowers while he's here, right?
Yeah.
Everything good and everything bad I learned from my dad. You know what I mean? And the reality is that, like, I know God, used my dad. And that's the reason why I've helped so many people, because God used my dad and led him to the Lord, and then he led us to, you know what I mean? So for better or worse, I know where the magic comes from, and I know it's in the bloodline, it's in the DNA, that I have the gift that my dad has of helping people and being that person. We were laughing yesterday, me and my dad, we talked about, we just tell people like, how you doing? Good to see you. And they're like, that's a big deal, because most people don't care. They don't care what anybody's doing. They don't care about anybody's life. So I was in Virginia. I thought I was going to go there and like, do worship and stuff. And I get there, and my brother's like, yeah, I want you to like do these cover songs. I'm like, bro, I don't want to do Stairway to Heaven or the Beatles. That's not worship.
Yeah.
It's not worship, bro. I don't care what anybody says. And like they change the words and stuff, or do like My Girl or My Lord. I'm like, okay. You got to remember, my dad was doing that 30 years ago. So I was like, dude, I don't want. So my brother did have a big church, about 1,000 at that time. And then one day I like quit the band, and me and him were already at odds, because I went to him after the second week. I'm like, bro, you're a fraud. And now I'm stuck here with you, and this sucks. And I started drinking just because I was so depressed. There's video of me on stage, and I'm like, have glasses on, and he's like dark ones, while he's preaching. And I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I can't fix my face when I get upset. And then he would make me feel bad, like, oh, well, you're just not a better Christian than I am. I mean, you're a sinner. You just got out of bad. And he tried to blame it on my dad, like, oh, you're just raised, And I said, dude, I'm just saying, wouldn't come here if I knew you were doing what you're doing, And there was nothing about little kids yet, right? Had nothing to do with that yet. This was all just, he was sleeping with women in the church and this and that, whatever, And I was like, okay, whatever, dude. I'm gonna do my thing, you do yours. And so he was doing it. People were praising him. He had security around him, and he had like bikers around him. Like, they're kind of a ripoff of our club. They're called the Soul Winning Soldiers, and they were black and white, and we were the Set Free Soldiers.
Man,
and yeah, the hip hop, everything. He just bid everything, which is cool. But it was like, my dad was broke at that time. He didn't give my dad no money. He didn't help him out. My brother's making millions at that time, right? And so I ended up just getting very, like, I got resentful in the beginning. And I'm like, this sucks, dude. I don't want to be here. I can't believe I came out here. I'm like, what are we going to do? And then I just one day, like, I wanted to do music, and I wasn't doing no music. I was like sitting there, like, I was doing like rapping and stuff again. I was like, I don't want to rap. So one day, after, they had like a light show and they did like Stairway to Heaven or some 7-minute song, I went out there with an acoustic guitar. I learned 3 chords. And I had this song called Beautiful Savior. And it just said, like, take my life, whatever you want from me. I surrender all, and it's just like, Jesus, beautiful Savior, and it's like real, just simple, like catchy.
Yeah.
And literally there's 1,000 people there. Everybody had their hands up. Everybody was crying. And everybody on stage had fallen out in the spirit pretty much and hit their knees.
Wow.
And there was no big band, no nothing. And right then I knew God says, there's a calling on your life.
Wow.
You're a worshiper. This is what you do. You heal broken hearts. You mend them. You're broken. And I said, God, my heart's so broken, because I couldn't handle the one person I didn't want to be mad at me was my dad. And that was the one person that was mad at me. And I thought he could understand.
Yeah.
And I get it. He felt betrayed and abandoned. That's the Aguilar way. I knew what was going to happen next. I knew I was going to be called a ranker and this. I did it to people, so I knew. So when I was there, I just really started diving into worship, and I stopped drinking. I was like, dude, I'm done. I'm just gonna serve Jesus, and like I'm gonna do my best. Even if my brother's doing bad, I'm gonna do good. So it was great because he'd be on stage. We wouldn't talk to each other while we were there, and I'd go out and just sing about Jesus, and I hoped it would convict him because I know it was convict. And bro, people would come to the altar. He never seen nothing like that there before the worship. I mean, bro, you can see the videos. They were packed, thousands of people. After I was done with 2 years there, I formed like really good musicians and band, and we started doing worship nights and flowing the gift and just, prophesying. And man, literally, like our worship nights were like over a few thousand people. It was so packed. And then he saw that it was packing out the church with younger people, and he saw the gift. He's not dumb, he's smart.
Yeah.
And so he started like adding more worship, and then like it became like, and that's why Planet Shakers and Carl Lentz, the Hillsong came. They wanted to like come to the church and his wife sang real good too. My brother's wife, sister-in-law, ex-sister-in-law, and so like I would write songs for her, and I mean I really wanted to see people come to Jesus, but I was struggling with my own insecurities, my own stuff. I was struggling with back home, so I would struggle with that. Like, hey Jesus, I just I hate life right now. How am I going to get on stage and sing about you? But every time I got up there, he did something and people got saved, and then I felt better afterwards and felt like God was moving. But yeah, it was a weird time there. I was there for a few years, and then a family came to me about my brother and like said, hey, your brother slept with our 15-year-old niece. And, they think, and I'm like, these people are like my best friends there. And I was like, I knew my brother was twisted, but I didn't know it was going to be like that. And I literally confronted him, and I was like, bro, did you do this? And he's like, no, I would never. He cried, And from that day on, I was there maybe a little while afterwards. And then I heard about the 2 girls in Texas, that he went to jail for. I hadn't knew them. They were part of our ministry. It set free. And little kids. It didn't happen there, but it happened years later because he went with the family. But I end up I just said, bro, I got to go. Like, you're going to go to jail. And I remember God telling me again, just like he said, he always used my daughter, always uses her. He says, you want your daughter's life to be cursed? Do what you used to do.
Wow.
Back up your family.
Jeez.
And I was like, ooh, like.
That's tough, bro. Like, people don't understand how tough that is. Like, the position you're in at that moment.
Bro, like, I mean, I don't, bro, you're from Cali.
Yeah.
Pedophiles get beat down. Yeah, we don't do that.
Yeah. That's like a no-no.
Aguilar's ain't about that. That's not us. But this dude, it's hearsay, it is this, and all the hearsay, and he started preaching messages about, only God can judge us. And I'm like, oh man, he's guilty, And then, so I said, hey, I told him first, I'll get you help. Let's get you help. And then this is the first victim, the first girl, right? Because I thought, okay, she's 15. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying in Virginia, it's like, it's okay, I guess. Not saying it's okay. Just saying if it's like the age of consent's 15 or something there.
Really? I didn't know.
And the girl did go try to like file charges and stuff, but nothing came out of it because my brother had the police department in his pocket there. They loved all the ministry stuff he did. It was like a movie, bro. You can't write this. It's all happened in real time. Jeez. And so I got my wife and kid, and I said laters, and I told my brother to his face, said, I'm not going to say nothing to nobody. I backed up the family. They left too. I'm going to tell you, this was the church was about, maybe 4,000 people at the time, as big as ever been. I said, I'm not going to tell anybody anything, but I'm telling you right now, keep my name out of your mouth because I know what you like to do. You're going to leave and you're going to tell people that I do crack or I do this. I'm too big to be a crack addict. You can say that I like Krispy Kremes, but don't say, don't believe that over the crack. And don't say I hit my wife. And what did he do? And what's crazy is he did the one thing that you disrespectful to me. He called my dad. And my dad showed up. And my dad tried to be the peacemaker like a dad would do. It's his son, right? I'm not mad at my dad. At the time I was. And my dad's like, oh, he's going to thank you one day for standing up for him and telling him the truth, because my dad wanted him to be humble too. But my dad thought they could probably get away with this, right? Like, okay, we're just going to and then they brought my other brother in, my older brother, MJ. They brought him in to take my spot. And he's not a worshiper. And I don't care what anybody says, and I'm not being prideful. I know my anointing. I'm confident. I'm a heavy presence to fill. Yeah. Because I'm God filled. You know what I mean? It's all Jesus. Yeah. There's nothing good in me but Christ. But I am the body and the vessel that he uses, whether people like it or not. And I know that people there at that church, they love me. They did. Till this day, if you're watching, they love me because I, for once in my life, was a man of valor. And I was going to break the curse of the Aguilar, acting like a badass or this or that. I was like, nah, I'm going to. And I was hard being there because remember, I was a nobody there. Yeah. And he's the guy, and it's like, and then but I started winning people over with just Jesus, just worship, and people were crying, and I hanged out with the least people there. When my brother was signing autographs, I'd be with all the guys from the homes and the programs, because he had like ministry homes and stuff too, And so I end up going to, leaving, And my dad came in, and they were trying to like save him. And Jonathan Falwell from Liberty University went there. He was trying to back him up, kind of. And it wasn't out yet about the two girls. So I got back to California with nothing, pretty much. You know, he gave me, I guess he maybe could tell people it was hush money, but basically I just told him, give me the money that, because when people would leave his church all the time, they would say like he was doing bad. They knew stuff about him, and they would get nothing because he just basically get everybody to like scare him away, or, you know, I wasn't afraid of him. I'm like, bro, I'll beat any one of your dudes' butts here. You know what I mean? Like, he knew I wasn't the guy, you know? And I remember telling Geronimo to his face, I said, bro, I'm out of here. Because he offered me money to stay and everything. I said, no, I'm gone. Just give me what I made a year here, which was like not much, like 40,000 or something a year. And let me go. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not going to say nothing to nobody. Just keep my name in your mouth. And within a few weeks, I'm hearing my name because there are people there still that love me that were torn. You know, it's the worst thing is that, this is what I hate about it. Like, there's so many, you know, Christians get saved and they're, you know, new believers. They're like dumb sheep. And man, they're so influential at that time that, you know, he made them believe that, you know, that he was such a good man, that they're just the enemy. And I hate when people use scripture to back up their dirty work. It just never sits well. I'm the type, if you're watching, if I did wrong because I did it. I'm not blaming the devil. I'm not blaming, I did it because of my pride and my ego or whatever. So if I did something wrong to you, I did it because of, I'm not going to blame the enemy. You know what I mean? It's me. I take full responsibility, but he didn't take full responsibility. And he had chances to kind of get out and make this right, but he didn't. He stayed there, and he, like, even like I said, man, he should step down. He's like, I ain't stepping down. You know, I didn't do nothing wrong. And I'm like, bro. And this is before the girls they found out about the two girls in Texas. And this is just off the girl I knew there. And so literally, he just end up. I end up like hearing he's running his mouth. And then what's worse is I see my parents there, like in my family, and that hurt. They're like in pictures with them. And when I was there, they came one time. My dad did in 3 years. My mom never came, nobody, bro. That tore me up. I was in Huntington Beach living in a trailer park, me and my wife and kid trying to figure out how I'm going to survive. And I can't hang with the crowd, all my homies I can't hang with because we all just got busted. If you're, everybody's, you know, I can't. And that's when I started hanging out with like Ryan Reese and the whosoever guys. But I was only there for a little while. Then I didn't fit in there no more because they found out my dad was Chill Aguilar. And that didn't help, you know what I mean? And I was like, great, you know what I mean? So I can't. Even my wife one time was like, you should change your last name. I'm like, no, I'm not going to change my last name. You know,
but that's how serious it got.
Oh,
that's crazy,
bro.
man.
So literally, and then my brother was there, my dad and them went there, and within, I remember it felt a long time, but I think a year and a half later, I saw on the news, because I knew a lot of people there, he was busted. You know, the federal marshals came and got him and took him in, and now he's doing 40 years in prison.
40 years, man.
For the two girls in Texas, It's not talked about. I understand my dad's his son, and if, you know, I get it, it's a hurt feelings. But see, I'm always the type, people can, you know, learn from our mistakes. So we should share. We should be transparent. I talk a lot now because there was a time we weren't allowed to talk. And that's weird. You should be able to talk and say, you know what I mean? Like, but we were covering up the sin. We were covering up the drama. And God still chose to use us, and he still does, but we're so much freer now because it's all out. Like when people say, oh, I got this on you, I go, cool, it's all on the internet. You can see what we've done, or some's true, some's not. But that was very hard. And, you know, I wrote it like during that time before my brother, because, you know, when stuff happens and you're waiting for somebody not to fall, but you're like, dang, God, are you ever going to like punish you? If that was me, I'd already been punished. You'd already been dealing with drama, but it took a little minute, and I remember like the church was getting like still bigger, and that hurt because a lot of people I love were still there. Bro, within maybe a few months, that went from 4,000 to 3,000, 2,000. I mean, just the numbers were dropping like crazy even before he got busted, right? And I seen my family there, and I was like, man, it's crazy. And then I was like writing an album. It's called Be the One, you know, like the Rebirth. And I wrote an album all about what I saw there. Yeah. I was like, you know, when you built, you know, when it's built on lies, it destroys lives. You know, like God's gonna tear the roof off and let the shine. I mean, I want to be real, don't want to be fake, want to learn from my mistakes, like lyrics like that, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't put that girl in your bed, you know what I mean? I didn't, you know, I mean, and it was heavy, and he was so mad when it came out, because that's all I had, bro. I had no money, was living in a little ghetto place in Huntington Beach, had no friends. I'm back in Orange County. My family's not talking to me. Me and my dad are at war because my dad's defending Geronimo. Dude, I was so pissed. I mean, I was so like, I'm like, God. And I remember telling God, I did this, I thought I was doing the right thing. You know, my mom didn't talk to me. It was rough, you know, and I'm not, believe me, we're all good now, but it's rough when you're going through it, and you're like, I mean, we had no family, and you're like, dude, and then you're like, is it worth it? Should I just stay there and took the money and just like shut up? And, you know,
that's rough.
But then when he got busted, it was like, man, I would have been right there getting in trouble too. And my other brother was there. He got fired. I mean, it was like, it And it was just heavy. I mean, it was heavy how God's payback is way better than ours. And also, I've learned in this season, because stuff has transpired in this last year in my own life, God's punishment isn't always paying people back for what they did to you. It's blessing you in spite of what they did to stop you.
That's good.
Because a lot of times we think God's punishment is like, okay, they're going to pay them back for doing me dirty. Yeah. No, it's still blessing us and giving us the wisdom, the strength to get another chance at life. So, yeah, man, that was a wild time. And then me and my dad didn't talk for years, and then we came back together just about probably about 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and we've been good ever since. I mean, we fought for the first year arguing again, but man, he's like, my dad's the coolest guy, and me and him get along so good now. And it's like, we like hug, and we never hugged, and we cry, and like to see him, like he's my biggest fan for worship, and like watching him cry, like when I don't even play one note and he starts crying. And and he helped me open the church in Burbank, the Studio 64 church I have, and 8 years ago, we've been there now 8 years, and God's doing crazy stuff there. I was working with Shia LaBeouf, helping him get to Jesus, cool. And just get to work with cool. I mean,
he came by, right, to studio.
He came by to see us, and just wanted to he said, I want you to tell me about God. I hear about AA, NA, all this, but I want you to teach me about God. So I've been teaching about God, and it's funny because churches hit me up like online, like, can he come to my church? And I'm like, no, not at all. You think you're a jerk. He ain't coming. Because it's funny because they won't comment on your video about the worship song I was telling your dad or this, but they'll comment on that. Like, bro, don't comment on this if you ain't comment on the song I just sang or the homeless guy that just came to Jesus that doesn't have a name or nobody knows him. That person is, that drug addict who just came back to Jesus is just as important as Shia LaBeouf.
That's good.
But again, Christians love getting them, we got him back. Yeah. We got him, like, bro, nah, it's not like that for me. I'm not impressed. I mean, I treat him just like I treat any other person I work with. And so, yeah, man, it's been a season. It's been a long season of just, man, like learning and growing and just like, I'm like, God, I don't know how many more I got in me. You know what I mean? Like,
you've been through too much, bro.
Yeah. I mean, and remember, this is all through my eyes. Yeah. Everybody has their own opinion or how they saw it. But this is how I saw it, and this is how I lived, and, there's facts to prove what I've been through and done. I have the paperwork, I always tell people. And so through it, I just been doing worship, and then all that stuff happened, and then, like, I moved to L.A. Like 8 years ago and started the church, and ever since I went to L.A., it's just like God just launched me with Tim Story, all these people. I was doing worship at his church, and he's a good buddy of mine. Your dad's friends with him, just a cool guy. And he really helped me with, like, I didn't know I didn't know that scripture that, God will finish the good work that he started in you. And he really pushed that on me and my dad, and we felt like, okay, our time's up. Yeah. Like we've done too much bad or we're never going to be used again. That's so a lie from the devil. The enemy loves to use. I always tell people the enemy learns from your mistakes even if you don't. And he loves to know your insecurities. And it's such a lie from the pit of hell. And I'm like, God saves the best wine for last. And I think that, like, people talk about the old days set free, but I'm like, oh, that's whack. The new days, what he's doing now with us is way better. Wow. But see, people judge off, well, you don't have 7,000 people.
Yeah, they look at the numbers.
Yeah, or you guys can't judge this, or you can't touch this. I mean, it's like, no, I don't live in 85. I don't wear the Letterman's jacket no more. It don't fit. That was my dad. That was his thing. Yeah. And now he's created some great things after that. Yeah. So we've been blessed to be able to start a few different things. The last few years, I've got really into, I own treatment centers, and, that's my get down, you know what I mean? So I really don't even have time I don't go to many churches these days, and I'm able to go to churches and pray that, like, I can sell 10 CDs so I can feed my family, Yeah. And now I don't have to do that, and God he just pushed me into a beautiful position, and I'm just so grateful and thankful, and I'm glad that everything was a lesson,
That's good. So that's good. Well, I appreciate you, Chill, man, for coming. I feel like, dude, we can have like 3 episodes of this, bro. Just like your story.
I'm not trying to talk too much. I'm just trying to tell the story, like, what it is. And I appreciate letting me, share, and hopefully, it'll touch somebody that's watching, and they'll see God can use anybody. Yeah. And broken crown still color. Ooh, and I'm still coloring, and it may not be somebody's style, but I'm somebody's cup of tea out there. And what I'm saying, if you're watching this, it's going to hit home, you know what I mean? And like I said, I'm just grateful that God has kept me, because I should be dead by now. For sure. And that he still chooses to use me in spite of my insecurities and self and all that. So, yeah, the future is beautiful, man. You know what I mean? I appreciate you guys having me. I love your family, and I love what you're doing at your church and ministry. It gets me pumped up, Yeah. And I'm that type of guy. I'll throw gas on your fire. I'm not a hater, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some Christians, they want to throw a blanket on the fire. I'm not me. I want to throw gas and see people just burn, and you know, your wife and everybody just sings amazing. I mean, I get just impressed, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I love, you know? So
thank you, man. We appreciate those words, man. I appreciate it. Well, bro, where can people connect with you, whether it's music, Studio 64, even the treatment centers? Where can people connect with you if they want to reach out?
Yeah, you go to Studio64recovery.com. You can go to Hollywood Hills Recovery. You can go to iTunes. I got music on there.
There's Chill Aguilar on
yeah,
like
just Chill Aguilar, YouTube, you know. And yeah, you could visit us. We have like some, we call it the God Wave we're doing now, and it's like two Saturdays a month in Burbank.
I need to come out. I saw the flyer. It looks pretty cool.
You guys got to come play. That'd be really cool,
dude. That'd be sick.
Kill it. And just a bunch of radical people, you know. See, I love it because it's easy to perform for church people.
Yeah.
I always tell people, like, oh, yeah, we're all saved. Just like that movie I was saying. I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but Christians are so pumped because they got a movie in Hollywood. None of my secular friends will go watch that. It's just the fact. It's not gonna happen. The reality is, but if we can present the gospel in a way where it's not judgmental and it's not just, because remember, we're just trying to get them in.
Yeah.
God's going to work on their heart and fix them and do what he needs to do. I don't need to try to change them. God's going to change them in time. But the reality is, if we can, when we get these people that are coming to our place, half of them don't know Jesus. They never even heard a Hillsong or worship. So the only worship they know, you know who they know? Me.
Yeah.
And that's what they like.
That's
good. And then they go hear other worship, like, man, that worship sucked, bro. You're good, you know? Because see, the church tells you what you're going to listen to.
Yeah.
And all over America, that's what's good about your church, because you guys are different. I know, I listen to music. All over America, everybody's doing the same song on a Sunday morning. You know, the same, you are holy God. And that guy has the same whack voice, the same, it sounds like, Third Eye Blind or one of those old school, sounds like, God bless him. But, but people want different. They need change. You know what I mean? That's why Set Free was amazing, because what they did back then was cutting edge. What you guys are doing is cutting edge, because I could tell by the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah.
People that are getting saved, all the young people that go to your dad's church, I always say, man, how do you get all those young people? Because that, to me, is where it's at. If young people are there, something's going on. So we're getting all these youngsters in there, fresh off of drugs and this. And I always say, if you're really, the Spirit is really on you, you're going to move with them. Because they definitely, what's good about people who just got saved, they've been out in the world and they know what's real and what's not. It's sad that we have to say that. But the church has unfortunately become, the church, where it's just, it's been like that for decades, where everybody comes in, acts like there's nothing wrong, and there's no, my thing is, if there's no brokenness behind the pulpit, there's going to be none in the crowd.
Oh, that's good.
And so the reality is, same with the worship. If they know, you know why they believe me? I ain't the greatest singer, I ain't the greatest musician, the greatest writer. They just know I believe that guy has been through some stuff.
For sure.
So, anytime, man, you guys make a time and we'll come. We're doing that 2 Saturdays a month. Cool. And just because doing it every Saturday, we can't even do, we literally, we're just blown away. Yeah. Like, I have to go cry in my car for 2 hours afterwards, because I'm just so overwhelmed by what God's doing. Yeah. And then as you get older, you're just like, I can't believe I made it this far. I just can't believe that you choose, and that's what's heavy about the Aguilars. Even when they're doing this documentary on my dad's It's Our Life, they're going to show the scandal and this and that, but they're more interested on, man, this guy is like this guy influenced and helped hundreds of thousands of people. And despite of his flaws or his drama or this, you can't take away from what God did. You know what I mean? And that's powerful stuff. And I'm blessed to be part of a family like that. You know what I mean? And it's a big shoes to fill, but I stopped trying to fill his shoes, and I just literally fill my own. I have my own journey and my own destiny. And God just, I just pray that, God just opens more doors. Now I'm in a season where I just want to open more doors of being able to go back to doing more worship and doing more doing more that's what I love. But I knew that I had to make a career and have some income, because, man, the worship is just not, my friend's Ryan Ellis, he's a popular gospel singer, great friend of mine. He has hit songs, won a Grammy, but he's still trying to survive. He's still trying to pay his bills. He's just not, I didn't want to be that no more. I wanted to be okay, at my church, I'm the biggest tither. I don't ask for a tithe. I just pay all the bills. That's good. Because I want to make it where people just come in and we can worship. And I want to, how you have your place here, it's nice. That's how I want the place to look cool. And and I know that I can't wait around for nobody. And then I'm the guy, I don't want to if I do a song they don't like, or I don't sing Hillsong, they're not going to give me a donation, or, I'm not, how churchgoers are.
Yeah.
They didn't sing my favorite song. I'm not going to give them, they're getting $50 this week, right, Pastor?
Yeah.
So anyways, but I appreciate you, and thank you for letting me share, man.
That's it, man. Well, I appreciate you, bro. I know it's your birthday and stuff, so I got you a little birthday card, bro.
Thank you.
You can open it later if you want, but.
Am I going to cry?
Nah, man, you're good. But thank you, bro, for coming down and everything on your birthday weekend, man. It's such a blessing. I have to have your dad probably one day soon.
Anytime.
But I like that we just talked about you and your story because, like you said, everyone has their own perspective. People would just want to hear about your dad and the set free days, but it's like, bro, I want to hear about you. You know what I mean? What you got going now.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
That's awesome, bro. I appreciate it.
It all ties in, but it's like, he has his and I have mine. And some of you out there need to hear my story because they're struggling with some of the same stuff I'm struggling with, and I just want you to know that, man, you're good enough. You're worthy of love, and God is going to do so many amazing things in your life. You just got to let go of that past hurt and shame and insecurities, you know what I mean? And start knowing your worth. And I always tell people, when you know who God is, you don't have to question who you are, you know what I mean? And that's what I've learned. And even as an older guy, getting older, is that Jesus loves me, and just nobody can change that.
That's it, man.
So,
I appreciate you, bro. Thanks again, man. Thank you so much. With that being said, hope you guys enjoyed that episode. You guys for sure learned something because I'm blown away right now. So with that being said, we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.